You're listening to All in the Industry, an independent podcast dedicated to behind the scenes talent in the hospitality industry, hosted and produced by me, Sherry Bayer. Since initially launching in 2014, we have broadcast more than 400 episodes, and now we're excited to be on our new platform. To learn more, visit allintheindustry.com. Support for this episode comes from the Institute of Culinary Education, ICE. To learn more, visit ice.edu today. That's ice.edu. Well, hello. Welcome to All in the Industry. I'm your host and producer, Sherry Bayer, and today is March 4th, 2025, and this is our 408th episode of this series, which is dedicated to behind-the-scenes talent in the hospitality industry. Today, my guest is a first-time author, an award-winning photographer and writer who is based in Brooklyn, New York, and I will introduce him fully in a moment. But first, as I do in every show, I will start out with my PR tip, and then later we will have my speed round game, industry news discussion, including some event announcements, my solo dining experience, and the final question. As the founder of Bayer Public Relations, I'm going to tip the show off with my PR tip of the week. So today's tip is to have a slogan, and make it a good one, of course. And that means something that will build your brand's identity, capture attention, and help your product or business stand out from competitors. Your slogan or motto should not only convey a unique selling point, but create a connection with your audience. Simply put, it should be strong, memorable, and catchy, and stand the test of time. Although it is never too late to try something new and rebrand for the future. So take the time to craft that winning catchphrase as ba-da-ba-ba-ba. People will remember it and loving it. That's my tip today. Okay, if you get my clue from that, you may know who my guest is today. I'm so excited to have on Gary He, a James Beard award-winning photographer and writer based in Brooklyn, New York. His style of on-the-ground, visuals-driven storytelling has been published in the New York Times, Bloomberg, Bon Appetit, Eater, and Saveur. His first book, McAtlas, A Global Guide to the Golden Arches, was published in November 2024. Without further ado, hi, Gary. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you. How'd you like that? How'd you like my ba-da-ba-ba-ba?
I mean, I'm personally loving it, and my motto is please buy a McAtlas and support independent publishing.
Yes, yes. And we're going to get all into your book, which I have this heavy book. I had to clear out like 3 books on my top shelf to get it to fit in a space there. But yeah, your book is so impressive. I can't wait to dive into hearing about self-publishing and putting it together. So before we get into that, take us back to the beginning, or what led you to become a journalist and a photographer, and how did you start your career?
It started kind of around high school, college. I was doing a lot of website building, and I had a blog, and this was way back in the early day. I don't want to date myself, but not too many people had those. And so, I was always into storytelling, and so that transitioned into working for the school newspaper at NYU, where I attended college. And from there, it just kind of kept on going, right? I kept enjoying it, and when I graduated, I started freelancing for the New York Daily News, and then the Associated Press, and so on and so forth. And we started going on the campaign trail in 2008, and it becomes like an addictive thing, being on the front row of history. And so I just kept on covering the biggest news stories, and I was very fortunate to be able to do it for as long as I have. And sometime about a decade ago, I transitioned a bit to focus on a vertical food and restaurants. And so I've been doing that for publications like Eater, mostly a little bit for Bloomberg, New York Times, all the above mentioned publications who were kind enough to publish my stories. And obviously, I worked on a book, McAtlas, about the largest restaurant chain in the world. And so, yeah, that's been my entire career arc until present day.
Arc, I like that. Why food? Like, why did you make that transition?
Right. Well, when I started my career, I was covering everything. Right. When you start your career, you're a generalist, and but food, restaurants, everyone eats, right? And it's the most relatable kind of topic or vertical that you could possibly have when you're doing stories. And when you're a beat reporter, they say like, oh, find like the court angle or find like the sports angle for any story, right? There's always some tangential thing. Well, how about finding the food or restaurant angle of any story, right? And then so I started thinking in terms of that in order to make it very relatable um, to people and to also sort of give myself like a grounding, right? And I was interested in it. And so, yeah, in 2016, I sort of transitioned myself into kind of a specialist in covering just food and restaurants. And Eater New York, Melissa McCart at the time was very kind enough to have me become basically like the regular photographer while also kind of brainstorming larger format articles for the publication. And yeah, from there, we just kept doing it for a couple of years. And then I think you start off your career thinking, oh yeah, it's like a one-off, or like, oh no, maybe it's like one or two pieces. But then the years pass, and you've just been doing it for so long. The time just flies, and it's almost been like a decade where since I've switched over to a food focused storytelling career, and been loving it.
Yeah. And I've been loving following your stories. I mean, as a publicist, someone who reads Eater often, daily, and keeps up, and I've noticed your photography and your coverage. I feel like you've taken unique angles or kind of approaches on stories too, like thinking a little out of the box, which is, I would say, one of the reasons makes you stand out from other journalists, because you're kind of just going a little different of a angle or beat. Um,
It's very
but
kind of you. Thank you.
oh, you're welcome. No, I mean it. I mean it. So let's talk about your book, because McAtlas, you self-published your first book. So first, tell me why cover McDonald's? Like, why not another franchise or anything else? Like, what was it about the McDonald's restaurants that inspired you to do a whole book on it?
Right. So similar to what I've been saying about, food being the most relatable, right? Because everyone eats, and so it's why I kind of went into focusing on food and restaurants. McDonald's is the largest restaurant chain in the world, right? And so everyone has a McDonald's story. Most of us grew up with it. Most of us grew up poorer than we are now, and so we ate a lot of like fast food. And for me, it was like kind of a treat whenever I got good grades. And then in college, I survived eating the dollar menu um, from the Broadway and West 4th Street McDonald's across the street from NYU, right? And so,
No, I'm sorry. You were raised in New York?
yes,
You
born
got
and
it. Okay.
raised.
All right.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, you know, I, it's such a relatable brand and restaurant chain, and is a symbol of like Americana. And no one had sort of taken the subject matter of how this uh, restaurant chain and brand had expanded around the world seriously, right? It's kind of like a financial news story now, McDonald's, because it's been around for such a long time. So because I was covering food, I kind of took it upon myself uh, to do that work, right? Start archiving a lot of these news stories and these menu items, these localizations that I saw, and kind of trying to figure out, okay, how do we expose people who normally wouldn't be thinking about, globalization, localization, um, in that way to those concepts. And so eventually, I came up with the idea of, oh, maybe we'll do a very visuals heavy book. People love looking at pictures, right? And also that's what I do primarily. And so you take this extremely relatable subject matter and kind of use it as like a storytelling vehicle to tell stories of different food cultures around the world and how societies interact with this very American chain that has had to become less American in order to survive and thrive over time.
So, how did you approach putting the book together and traveling around the world? I mean, the amount of travel you did is extremely impressive. The book is impressive, but like,
My
what was the
body still
process?
hurts from all that travel.
Yeah,
I'm still in recovery from
still jet lag,
flying around. Oh man, like I cannot recommend for anyone else.
flying around and eating McDonald's. But so, how did you go about like figuring out where to go, and then what were your discoveries at places? Because McDonald's, the brand, there's the Big Mac, there's French fries, that are, I assume, at all the locations, but then certain countries, certain places have their own style, their own menu
Hmm.
items. Did you have different discoveries and were you surprised at what you were finding along the way?
Right. So you're right that McDonald's does have like a core set of menu items around the world that is available in most markets. And so for me, tackling this project, the internet is great now. You can do a lot of research on it. And so, you kind of look at, okay, what are the locally available menu items that are permanently locally available, not just like a marketing gimmick or a thing they do for a limited time offer, but something like a rice bowl or like macaroni soup in Hong Kong that they always have because it tells a story of like a local food item that they need to have for breakfast or lunch or dinner in order to survive, right? And so once I had an idea of what I was searching for, I then figured out, okay, these are the countries I need to hit in order to tell this story. And then, of course, McDonald's doesn't just localize on its menu, it localizes its architectural design in some locations as well, right? In Europe, in order to be in the middle of some of these major cities, these cities are all like heritage buildings. They can't build a stock McDonald's design restaurant in the middle of like Ghent in Belgium or what have you. And so they have to move into these like very grandiose buildings that are, fascinating looking in some places. And so I started, going on Google Maps and just kind of driving around the world, clicking on every single McDonald's and kind of seeing, okay, wait, it's in a location that, it's a very localized design. Why is that, right? And sort of digging around there, and then from there, you kind of plot your route around the world. Obviously, a lot of Asia was done together, a lot of Europe was done together, but there were a lot of return trips over the course of about 3 years in order to make sure I had enough content to tell the story, right? And it's not finished, but there's certainly enough as you can attest to the weight of the book,
Yeah.
420 pages worth of content to tell that story about how this brand, which is like kind of famous for standardization, and is has had to localize and change itself in order to survive around the world.
Yeah. Did you have any favorite locations or there's a picture here I was looking this one I don't know this one. I don't know. This is so pretty. I'm showing you because we're like
Oh
in
yeah,
the
that
snow.
one's great.
It's gorgeous, but where is this?
Well, we'll describe. Let's describe it for your
Yeah,
listeners because we're looking at each other, but they
yeah.
can't see it. That is the McSkee in Lindvallen, Sweden. That is actually my personal favorite location
Oh, cool.
that I visited. So you selected that picture without me even knowing, and without even knowing that about
Yes.
me.
Well,
Um,
it caught my eye.
yeah, because it I went in early December. It was not full on ski season yet, so I actually kind of had the entire side of the mountain to myself. And so you can see that McDonald's is on the side of a mountain in
Yeah.
in this ski resort, and you just have snow covered trees and a ski up window, the only ski up window in the world for a McDonald's restaurant. And it's just located in the middle of Sweden. I think it took something like 10 hours to get to from Stockholm, just so remote. And you would never expect to find a McDonald's here, right? Because all the rest of the dining establishments in the area are extremely local, mom and pop type
Yeah.
establishments. But here you are, you have a McDonald's in the middle of it, and during the regular ski season, it's pretty well attended to, and it's large enough for hundreds of skiers to kind of roll up in there, right at the base of the mountain. And so yeah, it's some of these locations were definitely difficult to get to, but worth it, right? For to be able to kind of like visualize that for readers and to see, okay, this is a very remote location, McDonald's. This is the spread of this restaurant empire. Uh, and then, but even though it's kind of spread this Americana all around the world, how has it had to kind of adjust itself in order to fit in?
So that location you can only get to by ski?
Oh no, you can drive.
Oh,
You drive, but
but it's
but
more,
there
it's,
it is the only location that has a like a
yeah,
drive through window. But instead of a drive through window, you ski up to it. There is
yeah, that's very cool. It's a new
yeah,
way of drive through, ski through. True.
just come right off the slopes and then get
Yeah.
yourself a McVegan, which is very popular up there.
Yeah, well, and I sent you a picture when I was in Rio back in November where I left a restaurant. I went to this restaurant that was on the water that you had to take a little boat to get to. It was called Osiad. I talked about it on a past show as my solo dining experience. But I left this restaurant and then I took this little boat back and it left me in a parking lot. And I walked through the parking lot and I was going to get an Uber to go back to my hotel, and there next to a gas station was this Sobra Mesa,
Hmm.
which was a little like kiosk for desserts from McDonald's desserts. And I did get a little sundae there when I was waiting for my Uber because I was like, why not? But I hadn't, I think you told me these are very popular in Latin America. Maybe these,
Yes,
yeah,
there are more standalone dessert stalls in the Latin American markets, McDonald's standalone dessert stalls, than there are like full service McDonald's restaurants. I think there's something like 1,000 more sobremesa or postres in the Spanish speaking countries, as opposed sobremesa is what they use in Brazil to
okay.
describe these standalone dessert stalls. And so yeah, you know, McDonald's serves a different function or a different purpose, no matter where you go in the world. And in Latin America, it does serve as a place to get fancy ice cream and fancy desserts, as you can attest to. And so they have more buildings and more stores for that purpose.
It was very cute, and it was just random, I thought, where it was, but, I was like, "Oh, this is it's convenient for me because I was waiting there," but
Did you get the Ovaltine ice cream?
I don't think so. I got, like, I got a sundae. They speak mostly, Portuguese in Rio, and I think our communication I think I kinda pointed and, ordered something, that looked like a sundae, but is that what did I miss out?
The Oval Maltine uh, milkshake over there is like McDonald's has the exclusive right to use Ovomaltine in its milkshakes, and it actually uh, wrested that right from the local burger chain Bob's, which has something like 700 or 800 outlets. It's the second largest burger chain in Brazil, and it's the homegrown one. But it basically built its reputation on Ovomaltine milkshakes because Ovomaltine is crunchier down there. So this is extremely localized. It's only available in Brazil. Even if you got an Ovaltine milkshake or Ovaltine anything anywhere else, it would not taste like that. And so this chain Bob's had the rights for decades before, in like I believe something like 2016, they let the rights lapse, and so McDonald's swooped in, got it, and so now they have Ovaltine in a number of products. So I was kind of hoping you had gotten a
Oh,
chance to
now,
try that, because it is their like kind of localized. Local newspapers called it like the Guerre de Ovaltine, like the Ovaltine war between the two hamburger chains. When it was happening, so that was entertaining to kind of research and discover about Brazil, which I never thought about.
well, it just means I need to go back. That's all.
Take me with you. Just put me in your
So there you
suitcase.
go. There you go. Going back to
Yeah.
Rio, and I will try that. Um, Let me ask you. I have a couple questions for you from my past guests. I teased up you coming on the show a couple of times, and they're great questions. So we'll go back to episode 402. I had on Tyler Aiken. He's the founder of Forum Function Hospitality and a chef partner at Bastia and Coletta in Philadelphia, as well as a chef partner. He said La Cave. We'll just go La Cave at the story.
Macabre. Let's go with it.
Hotel DuPont. I know. Yeah. Tyler's awesome. And he wants to know. So he asked, where's the coolest McDonald's play place? And he noted that when he was a kid, he used to drive on spring break in Sanibel every March, and remembers that there was one north of Orlando that they stopped at every year, and it was sprawling and it blew his mind as a kid. And so he wanted to know, what's the most magical play place that you discovered?
So he remembers correctly. There is
Oh,
a play place. It is the largest in the world. It is in Orlando on iDrive, International Drive. And it was run by a fellow Gary Arthur. He was the franchisee there because, when he moved to Orlando, there was not really that many limitations on what you could do with play places, right? It just had to have slides and a couple of things. So he said, oh, well, we don't have to do the bare minimum. Let's do the maximum, right? And so he was like, let's just load up my play place with just as many games and as many rides and as many like all sorts of stuff as possible. And then over the years, he just kept adding more and more and more, eventually knocking it down, building a 2-story building in order to store everything, right? It became like a giant arcade, almost like a Chuck E. Cheese, as opposed to a McDonald's. And it's still there, even though it's been renovated on the outside. There's just so many arcade games on the inside, something like several hundred feet of those tube slides. And they have special menu items that you can only get there. I mean, you can get pizza like with it's like a Hawaiian style pizza with like pineapple and ham there. You can order that. You can get spaghetti there, and it's the only restaurant in the United States where you can get this stuff. It operates almost more like a playland of some sort than a McDonald's, even though you can get all the McDonald's stuff, normal McDonald's stuff in there. So that is the largest McDonald's play place. But if we're talking about cool, we have
yeah.
to go with the Airplane McDonald's in Taupo, New Zealand.
Oh,
There is a McDonald's that had when they took over the lot in the early '90s. It was a car dealership, and it just happened to have an old DC-3 airplane sitting in the parking lot. So the McDonald's owners just said, okay, let's just turn this into overflow seating, but it's sitting in the play place. It's meant for kids, who are interested in airplanes, to say like, oh wow, here's an airplane. Let me go sit in it and like eat my Happy Meal in there. And so even though a lot of adults sit in that airplane is technically in the play place area of that McDonald's. And so I would say that is the coolest McDonald's play place in the entire world. Extremely difficult to get to, especially from New York City, but totally worth it. I loved it.
fabulous. So are adults allowed to play, or do you need a kid with you?
The airplane itself, yeah, the airplane you can go into, but it is you have to go into the play place and like instead of making a left, you just go straight
Okay.
and up the stairs to the airplane.
But also, overall play places in McDonald's, are they only meant, I assume they're meant for kids, but can adults play? Are there rules? Have you ever been
Uh,
kicked out of one?
not that I'm familiar with. I am personally, thank God, have never been kicked out of a play place because
Okay.
I've never attempted to play in one as an
Okay.
adult.
I didn't know. Maybe that wasn't a part of the tour.
No, I mean that kind of research I'll leave to others. Let me know how it goes. Good luck. I stuck to the localized food, but yeah, I would hope that you know you don't play among the kids when as an adult. There,
Right.
if it's not your kids, so
Well,
I
next time I
I
see a
have no
McDonald's in a play
experience
place,
and
I'm
no
going to try it
expertise.
out.
Let me know how it goes, Sherry.
Okay. On a totally different note, we'll switch gears a little. On episode 406, I had on Andy Wang. He's a contributing writer to many publications, including Observer, Forbes, Robb Report. He's a podcaster of Industry Only at the Cheese Store and the founder of Industry Only. And Andy asked you a question as well. And he wants to know, he remembers that you pretty famously bought the $800 Masa pandemic box.
Oh
And
yes.
you had some concerns about whether you're going to make back the 800 selling your photos. So he wants to know, how much money did you end up selling photos for, and what else you ended up selling from buying that box. And he noted, we talked a little about the book. He hadn't seen the book yet, but he's familiar with your work. And when he mentioned that, I was like, I remember that article. So talk a little about this Masa box.
Oh yeah, this was like probably the most fancy thing that came out in the early part of the pandemic.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I was just covering, on the ground covering the pandemic in New York City. Uh, it was the epicenter for a while. Uh, and so Masa, the three Michelin star restaurant, put out a, super premium sushi box for $800. I didn't even get to I think they were limiting it to like 20 per week. So I didn't even get to buy it the first week. It was the second week I got it. And I think, online I was just playing up the price and saying like, oh yeah, I'm going to try to sell photos to make the money back. But, I always kind of like love this storytelling and this journalism stuff enough to be willing to just like sink my own money into it. And then, if you end up making your money back, great. If not, then like, no one goes into journalism to make money, right? Just like no one publishes a book to make money. Let's be real about that. You do it for the love of the subject matter. It is
True.
a passion project, right? And so it's the same thing with covering restaurants and doing that work during the pandemic. So I was playing that up a little bit online, and to be honest, I probably didn't make the money back. I probably sold it once or twice, but no way that it hit $800. Um, so the answer to your question, Andy, is no. I did not make my money back. But what a memorable story, right? And so totally worth it, and it really put into context, the or at least showed like the extent that restaurants were willing to go through in order to survive the pandemic, right? That even like the best sushi restaurant in the United States was willing to kind of do this thing that was very antithetical to what it believed in, right? Sushi should be eaten within seconds of hitting the plate, all this stuff, in order to be able to like fundraise and stay afloat, right? Before a lot of that PPP and like that money started coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I looked back at your story and the photos are so gorgeous, and I'm jealous I didn't
Thank you.
get one. I mean, I was here. I didn't I started doing some takeout, but I did not do that one. But yeah, was it, I'd been to Masa once, splurged for a birthday many years ago. Um,
Lucky.
very lucky. It was like about half the price, but
Hmm.
it was nowadays I think I'm not even sure what a meal costs without alcohol. Even I think it is kind of like 700-800.
Hmm.
But how was it? Was it epic?
That's the sad part. It's like it wasn't that epic because
Okay.
Chef Masa himself, he's done interviews where he says like, the second that sushi hits the plate, even if you're eating it in the restaurant,
Hmm.
right? Every second, like that sushi is deteriorating and is becoming worse and worse, right? Like you need to eat it ASAP, right? And so the fact that it got packed up into a box, got pre-made, and then like had to be driven. It's a
Right.
delivery. I was in Brooklyn, and so they were making it in Columbus Circle, and so
Yeah, and
even though
it's
there
in my
wasn't any
neighborhood,
traffic,
so
there was no traffic because of the pandemic, but it's still
yeah.
20 or 30 minutes driving, and so you're eating you're eating this it's being consumed in suboptimal conditions, and so even though it was and not to mention I was photographing it before camera eats first because we were doing it for storytelling purposes, and so thereby even further extending the time that it was just kind of marinating away in the box. So yeah, I'm
Well,
glad that era is over. I've never eaten in masa inside the restaurant, but I'm sure it's delicious.
it was delicious. Yes, my experience, and I'm sure it still is. Yeah, I mean, fantastic sushi. And it's cool you did that and that exists now online, that part of history and the coverage of the
Okay.
time, It's
Yeah.
unique and a memory documenting it. I think that's one thing with what you do as a journalist with writing articles and photography that you're capturing these moments, these memories, and they'll live on. I think it's really special. So before we take a break, just can you give a little advice for anyone listening that might want to pursue a career like yours? Writing as a photojournalist, self publishing a book. I mean, you've been hustling. I see it. And like, I don't know. I did a book that, my Chef Wise book, I worked with Fiden, a publisher that took care of a lot of the parts that I see you doing between the distribution. So it's a lot. I give you a lot of credit. But in there's a question of
Well,
like
traditional
advice.
publishing.
Advice.
I mean, I think traditional publishing is the way to go for a lot of people, right? Like to your point, there is a lot of like behind the scenes stuff that it. I mean, I consider myself fairly capable with a pretty broad skill set, and I've always run my own projects. Self starter. And even with all that said, I came to the brink of like breaking down a number of times from cleaning up disasters, and so this is not to discourage anyone who wants to go out and self-publish their book, but like think about it pretty carefully and like weigh the pros and cons and do your research before kind of diving in because it is a pretty heavy lift, and publishers exist for a reason. They're very good at what they do, and they have these like supply chain networks and services networks that are well established, and so you know this is not the existence of McAtlas, and what I did is not to say like, oh yeah, everyone should go out and self-publish, but there are advantages to self-publishing in controlling your own work and how what the final product looks like, and there's a lot of joy in that, and so I would say you know um, when it comes to advice for aspiring writers, photojournalists, people out there trying to do their book, their first book at least, just do it, right? Like there's a lot of like kind of hand wringing and kind of like overthinking, over planning, and then years pass by and you don't the work doesn't get done. I think it's pretty important to kind of like test the market, do the work, and be out in the field. I got a lot of crap during the pandemic um, about this because I just said, this is the biggest news story in X number of years. Like, why are you waiting around for an assignment? Just go, you know, put on a mask and go out and and report on some stories. Like there's a story literally in every corner because it's affecting everyone. But I think that obviously you should be safe. But like that I still believe in that you can't wait around for someone else to give you permission. If you truly believe that like a thing needs to exist in the world, that a story needs to exist in the world, that no one else is working on it, that's been my philosophy. I just go and make it and create it, and maybe people will like it, and maybe they won't. But it satisfies or scratches an itch that I had for what should exist in the world, and ultimately, I think that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 100%. I love that. And I respect and admire you tremendously. I mean, you do. You put the work in, you do great work. Congratulations on the book. I mean, the book is beautiful. There's so much content. I haven't finished reading it yet. Might take me a little while. But it's inspiring and you should be very proud. So, on that note,
Thank you.
you're very welcome. Let's take a little break. We will come back. We'll play my speed round. We'll talk some industry news. I have my solo dining experience and the final question. So stay with us. This is all in the industry. For all you aspiring chefs, bakers, and food entrepreneurs out there, have you considered taking your passion to the next level? Maybe you dream of opening your own restaurant, becoming a pastry chef extraordinaire, or even a sommelier. Whatever your culinary aspiration, the Institute of Culinary Education, ICE, can help you turn it into reality. At its campuses in New York City and Los Angeles, ICE offers fast track programs in a variety of areas, from culinary arts to pastry and baking to restaurant management, hospitality management, and even sommelier training. And you can graduate in as little as 8 months. Did you know that some of the top name chefs and industry professionals that you've met right here on All in the Industry are ICE graduates? That's right. Stars like Gail Simmons, Andrew Ridgie, and Missy Robbins all hone their craft at ICE. Ready to pursue your dreams and find your culinary voice? Visit ice.edu today. That's ice.edu. Welcome back to All in the Industry. I'm your host and producer, Sherry Bayer. My guest today is Gary He. He's a James Beard award-winning photographer and writer who's based in Brooklyn, New York. And his first book is out. It's called McAtlas, A Global Guide to the Golden Arches, and it's available wherever books are sold. So go get your copy. Okay, Gary, it's time for my speed round. So what this is I'm going to name a couple things and you get to pick your preference, such as chocolate or vanilla.
Oh my God, I thought we were going to do the industry news.
Well, the industry news comes after the speed round.
Oh, got it.
Speed
Okay.
round is the fun. This is my play place.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you choices. So I feel like you're going to master this. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Eat in at home or eat out at a restaurant?
Oh, eat out at a restaurant.
See, I told you you're going to be good at this. Um, Indoor dining or al fresco dining?
Al fresco.
Wine, beer, cocktail, spiritless drink, or champagne?
Beer, because there's really good non-alcoholic options now.
Okay, very true. Tasting menu or a la carte?
A la carte.
Small plates or large plates?
Small plates.
Communal table or chef's counter?
Communal table.
Tipping or all-inclusive charge?
Oh, tipping.
Tipping. Window seat or aisle? I've done a lot of travel.
Oh, aisle seat.
Aisle, you're an aisle. Are you able to sleep on the aisle? I like the window because I can curl up.
Yeah, no, I have my methods
Oh,
to get it done, but I need to be able to escape.
yeah, I hear you on that. Okay, I had to. Big Mac or Whopper?
Wow, Whopper. I don't think the Big
Whoa.
Mac is. I really, as iconic as the Big Mac is, I don't think it is a, a proper ratio for a hamburger in the year of our Lord 2025. It is there's too much bun. They need to do the Denali Mac, which is they use quarter pounder patties, but then they put it in like the Big Mac double decker format. It's only available in Alaska.
Okay, good to know because Alaska's still on my destination list. So now I know to go there.
Yeah, the Denali Mac is the proper ratio. The Big Mac is delicious, but there's just too much bread now. We're not trying to do that many carbs.
Wow, wow. I'm glad I asked that though. Good to know. Okay, two more. Cheese plate or dessert?
Dessert.
Manhattan or Brooklyn?
Oh, Brooklyn for life.
Brooklyn for life. Good to know. Okay.
Except during college, NYU. Shout out NYU. Stop
Brooklyn for life
stop
is
calling me
never
for money.
okay, excellent. That's the game. See? You did great.
Excellent. I hope I passed.
You passed. It was just fun. When I
I'm
when
a
I
man
see
of the
you next
people.
time, I'll give you an all in the industry hat. That's your
Thank
prize.
you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now we're going to do industry news. I have two different articles. Well, first, it was all over print and online, but on CBS on March 1st, they covered Tribeca Grill's closing. NYC's Tribeca Grill closes after 35 years, a nice piece with Drew Nieporent. And I saw on social, I believe you were there closing night.
Yes, I was there on the last night with my friend Robert Tietzema, who has a newsletter. He is a food critic, a longtime food critic for the Village Voice and Eater, among other publications, and now has a newsletter where he is continuing his work, eating everywhere and reviewing and kind of sharing his tips and tricks for
Amazing.
restaurants around the city.
So I was there on closing night too. I
How do
missed
we
it
miss
though.
each other?
I was there pretty late. But I
You're a
was
party animal.
I'm
I'm a 6 p.m. and then be in bed by 11.
I was there I didn't stay to the very end, but I was there pretty late and it was special to be there on closing night. I mean, 35-year run is incredible. Tribeca Grill is an institution. It's iconic. It's a
Yeah,
Newport partner with actor Robert De Niro when they opened back 35 years ago. And it's just, I mean, Drew says in this piece on CBS, he's like, you got to know when to fold them. He said they're going out on a high, which is true. And it's just a legendary restaurant. It was special about being there on Saturday. Well, many reasons, but the whole room was filled with past chefs, people who just coming to pay their tribute, guests, friends of the restaurant. It's impacted our industry so much. So, congratulations! It's quite an accomplishment.
and Drew is a legend of the game. I mean, like you think about the restaurants he had a hand in,
Hmm.
from like Montrachet, Cortone, Batard, Nobu,
Nobu,
right?
yeah,
And so so Tribeca Grill, I believe, was his oldest or longest running one, right? 35 years.
yeah,
Nobu in a couple years will, I'm sure, overtake it. But yeah, it's I have good memories from the Tribeca Grill. I was a photo intern at the New York Sun newspaper, and so for a couple of months, they had this column called Lunch at the Tribeca Grill. Every single day, we would go in there and interview like a titan of industry, because the Tribeca Grill was like one of those power lunch spots in the city. And so, yeah, that's how I met Drew. When at the age of 19, and and how I got introduced to that entire world of the Tribeca Grill. So sad to see it go, but it's going out on a high, as they say. So
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Drew is a legend, and I think there's so many reasons like why people are successful, but he's a great person, and I think he obviously knows how to run restaurants. And
Hmm.
it was nice. I got to sit with him for a little bit on Saturday, and just like hearing the stories of the restaurant and their history. And Marty Shapiro, of course, was there too, his partner. Um, yeah, it's a very special place. It will be missed in Tribeca, but yeah, congratulations to them. Like really epic. And I had the burger. I don't know what you had to eat, but I did their prefix with the tuna tartare, and I had Caesar and burger. But the burger is really good. It's daily burger, good stuff.
Yeah, I think it was like a prefix left over from Restaurant Week, and they knew they were going to close, so they just kind of let it rip a few more weeks. So the pricing was really good. I think it was something like $59 or something
Yeah,
like that for a three-courser.
yeah.
What a way!
It was
What a
good
way to go!
value. Good value. So, sad to see it go, but leaving on a high note. So, congratulations to Drew and Marty and Tracy, Drew's brother, and the whole team there.
Hmm.
Okay, so the other news I had was on Instagram yesterday, the world's 50 best restaurants announced that they are launching a North America specific list. And then it was covered on Eater. I picked an article out. It says the world's 50 best launching North America specific list. A new list featuring the United States, Canada, and parts of the Caribbean will be dropping later this year. And this was by Bettina Macalinto. So this was big news. I think they teased it a little. I'd say as someone now in the past few years, I've been going to a lot of the world's 50 best awards. I've been going to the main one they do covering the whole world. And then I've been going to some regionals. I was in Rio to go to the Latin America's 50 best. I went to Seoul to go to Asia's 50 best. I've been to Abu Dhabi to go to MENA's 50 best. And actually, my next show coming up is going to be my coverage of Mina's regional, which was about a month ago. So I'm familiar with it, and I think it makes sense that they are now going to do a regional on North America. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of fits in with these other awards programs, for the restaurant industry, right? Like, there are people who have all sorts of opinions about them, but at the end of the day, it's all marketing, right? Like, I don't think a lot of people who are actually involved with this stuff truly believe that there's a way to say like there's a number one restaurant or like a number 10 restaurant, right? But all of the programs are expanding. It's all the different uh, kind of categories and regions that it's covering. And 50 Best has the 50 Best Discovery, which
Mhm.
it's an open-ended list. It's not just 50. It's not just the top 100 or whatever. You can kind of throw in as many as you want. And so and those restaurants benefit from being able to use that for marketing, right? And sort of like bring more guests into the door. And so I see that as a positive force, right? Because working in the food and restaurant space, you need all the help you can get in order to stay in business and to survive and thrive. And so, the more lists and the more programs that there are for restaurants to be a part of and to be recognized, so they can eventually use it for their marketing purposes, I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of what they do. I think I like celebrating with the chefs in restaurants, and a list. Yeah, lists. You know, they're subjective, or you could be critical. I like looking at the positive and being like celebrating the chefs, and I also like the community that it brings together. And the regionals, particularly that I've been to, it's really nice to see. I mean, the chefs seeing each other, bringing them together, supporting each other, cheering each other on. And yeah, it will be interesting to see this, and exciting to see how they launch this in North America. They haven't announced an exact date yet or location. The article said by the end of the year. I'm guessing it probably be like September, October, but we'll see. And there aren't that many U.S. restaurants on the world's 50 best list right
I
now.
was just about to say, like, I
Yeah.
think it's something like 4 or 5, right? Like they
Yeah, the
really,
top one is Automix, which is currently ranked number 6, and
right.
Single Thread is on it. Yeah, so
We've lost. I mean, the EMP, I guess, was the long time
yeah, they were number
top
one.
U.S. restaurant, but then they get rid of them after they win number one, right? Like they get,
Yeah,
you kind
they
of
go
go
in.
into, you go to heaven, right?
You go
World's
to
50
your
best
own
heaven.
category. I think it's best of the best, and
Yeah.
yeah, you're like it's like a lifelong achievement award. Or
So no, that'll be fun for North American restaurants, right? To be able to say, hey, like pay attention to us, and as you know, as a PR person, having an accolade makes it a lot easier to pitch to publications and to like influencers and journalists or whoever, right, that is writing about restaurants or covering restaurants these days, right? And so to have yet another award or another list that you can draw from is helps you out.
yeah, 100%. And also, I think from this podcast and interviewing some of the chefs on this list and through my book, the research I did and putting together Chef Wise, the stories I've heard from chefs who've got acknowledged on one of these lists, especially the regional, like they kind of got onto the regional list and it saved their restaurant to get acknowledged.
That's what I'm
Like,
saying. I
you
mean, I
know?
think that's what you got to pay attention to, not the oh yeah, we're number one, or how could you possibly make that number one, like all that like no one truly believes that like number one is actually number one, right? Like the more important part is that all these restaurants are being recognized, and then that brings eyeballs and business in and kind of keeps them going, especially if they're operating at a high level, because a lot of those restaurants, their margins are like razor thin because they're you
Yeah.
know they staff higher, they're using more expensive ingredients, so on and so forth.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. And also you talked about the discovery restaurants, which they added a bunch. There's like a huge list of discovery restaurants now that they added, which is great because it's showcasing so many more restaurants and putting them on the map. So people, especially when you're traveling, I think those lists are great, that
Mm-hmm.
going somewhere and you could just research it and get inspired of places to go and it's supporting restaurants. All right, so that's that.
Good job.
Stay
Good
tuned.
job, 50 best.
We'll see what city they launch in as their first one. Okay, now I have some event announcements. I should just say, California, here I come. So next week I'm going to California, and I just want to share a bit about why. So, first on Monday, March 10th, I'm going to the Taste Awards, which is taking place at the Writers Guild Theater in Beverly Hills. And I've been to this awards now twice. I received the Best Host Award for my All in the Industry podcast a couple years ago, and I was inducted into their Hall of Fame last year. But this year, I'm going to be a presenter at the awards ceremony. And this is their 16th annual Taste Awards, which celebrates best food, fashion, and lifestyle programs on TV, in film, online, and streaming video, and in podcasts and on radio. And it's going to be filmed for TV to be broadcast on some PBS stations. So that will come out in May and June. So I'm excited about that. And their website is thetasteawards.com. So that is the first thing I'm doing in LA. And then I'm going to the Ojai Food and Wine Festival, which is taking place March 13th to 16th at the Ojai Valley Inn in Ojai, California. And this is the second year they're doing this event. They're calling it California's premier Epicurean Weekend. And it's a 4-day event featuring more than 100 top chefs and personalities, along with some revered wineries, and it's presented by Food and Wine. And I have two roles. I'm doing a talk with Farmer Lee Jones, a one-on-one conversation, Farmer Lee from the Chef's Garden. And then I'm also hosting a cooking demo with Blackberry Farms chef Cassidy Dabney. She's doing the cooking and I'll do the bantering. So I'm excited about that. I've never been to Ojai. Have you been to Ojai, Gary?
I have. Wait, I have. Don't they do a garlic festival? No, that's Gilroy. That's nearby. So no, I've never been there.
Well, I've never been, and I feel it's a magical place from everything I know about it. So I'm very excited. Ben Keffert is the general manager at Ojai Valley Inn, and he's curating this, and the lineup is incredible. And I believe there's still tickets available. If anyone's in LA or the Ojai region, you want to check it out, you go to ojaifoodandwine.com, follow them on Instagram at Ojai Food and Wine. So I'm looking forward to that. I come back to New York, and then at the end of the month, sorry, this is long winded, but I'm going to go to Las Vegas to go to the Women in Hospitality Leadership Conference presented by MAP and the Women's Hospitality Initiative. It's their 5-year anniversary celebration at the Wynn Las Vegas, taking place March 30th and 31st. And they have industry leaders that span across renowned restaurant groups to corporate hospitality and celebrity chefs who will provide key business strategies, expert advice, and financial guidance. And this is being organized by Joanna James, the founder and CEO of MAP, as well as Elizabeth Blau, the founder of Women's Hospitality Initiative and the co-owner of Blau and Associates. And they both have been guests on the show. So I'm excited to go to that. And I believe you can also get tickets and find out more details by going to mapimpact.org. And that's MAPP, 2 Ps. So check that out. That should be great. And excuse to get back to Vegas. So those are the events I have coming up. Before I get to my solo dining experience, just to be fair, Gary, do you have any events coming up?
Wow, you have
Anything
so
you want
much
to plug?
going on.
Because I just plugged a lot of stuff.
I am getting tired just listening to your itinerary.
I'm
You know, I think
tired already too.
I've done enough travel for many lifetimes, and so, you know, even though there's still an itch to get out there, I think I'm gonna stay
Okay.
around the tri-state area for quite a while.
Good to know. I have caught you at some of the awards circuit a bit, James Beard Awards, and yeah, we run into each other. And I know you do some of this stuff. So, but it's good you're taking a little break, and I'm just going to come back and nap. I'm going to nap in April. Okay. And I should say thank you to everyone, all these events for having me. I'm super excited to be a part of all of them, and it should be very exciting. And I'll report back when I get back and tell you all how my experiences were, but I'm sure they're going to be fantastic. Okay. So now it's time for my solo dining experience. This week it's at Kike Crudo. You know this place, Gary?
I do not.
All right. All right. Here's the rundown. The location, 27 bed. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Said thanks for the invite.
Well, this was a solo dining experience.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You know me. And it was good. I went solo. I'll share now. So the location is 27 Bedford Street, West Village, New York City. The concept, it's a walk-in only Mexican seafood counter restaurant. The owners are Chef Cosme E. Aguilar and his brother Louis. Why did I go? Well, I heard great things about this place. It opened about a year ago, or I think a little over a year ago. And I always like trying out places I haven't been. So my experience on a recent Saturday night, it was actually a night we got a little snow in New York. I was out and about. I didn't have dinner plans. Typically don't even go out to dinner restaurants Saturday night, but I decided to check this place out. And I walked in like at prime time around 8 o'clock, and it's a tiny spot. I mean, it's about 20, like less than 25 seats, walk in only. But what do you know, when you're solo, even though the place was super packed and busy, there was one seat available on the counter, and it was mine. So I sat down. The whole place is basically counter seating, except there's some stools by the window and along the wall. But I sat down. There were 2 lovely ladies next to me, I started chatting with and talking about dishes. And we ended up sharing dessert together, which was really cool. The place had a really fun vibe, lively. And I ordered. I was hungry. It was kind of hard when you're solo figuring out what to get, but it was a smallish menu. And I got a few small plates, and I think I ordered well. And they're known for their cocktails too. I did not drink any cocktails, but I think that's part of the appeal of this place, delicious food and cocktails. So I had a really great time. So what did I get? I got the tostada de jaba, which is crab, citrus, avocado, tomato. You eat with your hands tostada. I had the lobster ceviche, which is Maine lobster that had coconut, ginger, salsa, matcha, cilantro, um, served with two hard shell tostadas. Then I got a hot dish, which was the Mar y Tierra, which was seared scallops with homemade chorizo, hashed potato, cashews, chipotle aioli, salsa verde. And then for dessert, my friends next to me had this homemade queso ice cream that was giant, and they let me have some, which was great because it was like so decadently delicious. But it was a big dessert. And then I got the pastel de tres leches and shared with them. So it was nice. Those are the two desserts they had. They were both delicious. And my take of the whole meal was it was really fantastic. Like all the flavors of every dish were just kind of pow and stood out. And especially, I'd say that the lobster ceviche, which I think is it's kind of a special they do that they're known for. But it was really fantastic. I say, Gary, you should go.
Now that you mention it, I've tried to go before, but I made the mistake of showing up with two friends, and even though they did have that one bar stool open,
Yeah.
which I would normally be able to take advantage of because I too love the so-called table or seat for one, I wasn't able to go. So
Yeah,
next time I'll
this
go solo.
Yeah, this is a great spot for solo because actually, as I was dining there, I think they were quoting about 45-minute wait, and some people were going to the wine bar next door and coming back. But four people came in and got the four seats at the window, but they must have waited a while. I was kind of impressed that they sat four people at once. But yeah, it's a good place to go solo or with one friend, I'd say. The ambiance, as I said, it's a narrow space, has the windows up front, and it's all mostly counter seating and it's loud, it's energetic. And there was a full on snowstorm then going on during this meal, but it was a very cozy place to be in with the window. We could watch the snow. So I had a great time and I was glad I went. And my interesting tidbit is that the owner also has Casa Enrique in Long Island City, which was the first Mexican restaurant in New York to earn a Michelin star, just as a fun fact. So this is Chef Cosme. He's known mostly for that, and this is his newer place. And personal fun fact, another night that week, I went to Crevette, which opened down the block. And this is Patricia Howard and Ed Szymanski. I was saying that right, the chef from Dame and Lords. This is their new spot. And
That's right.
I went to the bar there, also very happening. It's a pretty big space, and I had a really nice meal there as well. Have you been there to Crevette?
I haven't yet, but planning to sneak in at some point.
All right, you go sneak in and sneak into both. And the cost of my meal at Kike Crudo was $131, not including tax and gratuity. So New York dining out is costly these days, but I feel like it was worth it. And I didn't even have alcohol, so but I did have a good amount of food. I mean, I had three plates, and the lobster was a little more. It was one of those like market.
Well, you had the lobster.
Yeah, the lobster was more, but I think if you go more with you skip that it wouldn't be as much because that's not including tax and gratuity, but it was a great experience and no regrets. Okay, so would I go back? Yes, and their website is kikcrudonyc.com and Instagram is kikcrudoNYC. Ta-da! All right, that's the solo dining. It's time for the final question. So, on an upcoming show, my guests are going to be Rick Smilo, the chairman and CEO of the Institute of Culinary Education, and Lachlan Sands. He's the president of the Los Angeles campus from the Institute of Culinary Education, which for short we call ICE. And this year, ICE is celebrating its 50th anniversary. It was founded by Peter Kump in 1975, and then Rick purchased the school after his passing in 1995. So this is Rick's 30th anniversary as the principal owner. So I'm going to have them both on the show to talk about the school and the history. And Gary, I would love if you could ask a question for Rick and Lachlan, or one of them, or both of them, and it could be anything.
Wow, putting me on the spot.
Yeah, I think you
Um,
can handle it. You're a reporter.
oh my good. I mean, this is not even my field of my field of study. But because I guess because they have such a good they have eyeballs on like what's happening, back of house across the entire industry. I would be, and because they teach the best practices, best habits, maybe something like that. I would say like what is a trend or something common that a lot of cooks are engaged in or do that drives them mad and they would urge them to not do.
Okay. I'll
I don't
find
know.
out. We'll see if it's
There's got to be
the
something,
same
right?
opinion or
Yeah,
same thing.
like keep it spicy.
Okay, I will find out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a huge milestone this year, 50 years.
19,000 graduates. Certainly a good number of them are doing wacky things in their cooking that maybe they're
Yeah,
not they would rather they don't. Like are we
yeah,
are we tweezering too much?
I'll
Who
find
knows?
out. And there's some, I mean, people have done really well from the school. Some grads are Gail Simmons, Missy Robbins, Mashama Bailey. They have a good alumni list, a really good list. People have done.
Not a tweezer among the three. So maybe
No,
maybe
but
we need
now I'm
more
gonna look.
tweezers.
I bet there's a tweezer chef that's graduated that's doing amazing things. Tweezer food is not as, I don't know, I would say is not as in now, or well, there'll always be tweezer food.
Rick will let us know because he's got his finger on the pulse of what chefs are doing nowadays,
Yeah.
right?
And also the difference between, here in LA too, with the LA campus, which that opened 2018. So it's been around now for a while. Okay, awesome. Thank you for the question. I will find out. That is the show. Congratulations. You're,
Thank you, everyone. Please, McAtlas, go acquire a copy somehow.
what's the best place? I mean, anywhere books are sold, or do you have a website you sell them through, or is it more just wherever books are
It,
sold?
people like to buy books in many different ways, right? And from
True.
different types of sources. So hit McAtlas.com, and we have a list of local bookstores and also big box type retailers that carry the book, and you decide.
Okay, and you're gonna have
Thank
to
you.
want you to sign my copy.
I'm sure we'll run into each other at some
We
point.
will,
We'll
but I'm
get it
also
done.
impressed you've been carrying these around. I mean, you're getting a workout from your distribution. But yeah, it's a very impressive book. Congratulations. You're amazing. I think you should be very proud of everything you've accomplished. So
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me today.
you're very welcome. I will see you soon, I'm sure, and look forward to reading and seeing your photos as well in whatever publications you're writing for.
Stay
So
tuned.
thank
There's
you.
always another story.
Always another story. So thank you for joining me. My guest today has been Gary He. He is a photographer, writer, and the author of his first book, McAtlas, A Global Guide to the Golden Arches. As we said, it's available wherever books are sold. Go get a copy and follow Gary on Instagram at Gary He. And you can follow me at Sherry Bayer at Bayer PR and Adult Industry, my YouTube channel and Facebook page are all in the industry. And you can find all of our episodes new and archived on my new platform, allintheindustry.com. And our shows are available wherever you listen to your podcasts. Check out my other websites, BayerPublicRelations.com and SherryBayer.com. And my book, Chefwise, is also available wherever books are sold. Thanks to the Institute of Culinary Education, ICE, for their support of this episode. To learn more, visit ice.edu today. And many thanks, as always, to my engineer, Armin, and again to Gary. I am your host and producer, Sherry Bayer. I'll be back soon with a new show. I hope you'll tune in then. And thank you, as always, for being part of All in the Industry. Bye. All in the Industry is an independent podcast hosted and produced by Sherry Bayer. Follow us on Instagram at All Industry and on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, All in the Industry. Subscribe to our show wherever you listen to your podcasts so you don't miss any new episodes. To learn more, visit allintheindustry.com.